Good day to all of you. Through this video, we will be discussing about the first part of lesson motion, class 9 physics. In today's session, we will be covering up the following topics: the concept of rest, motion, frame of reference. What do you mean by physical quantities? How can you classify physical quantities into scalars and vectors? What are the major differences between distance and displacement? Without wasting much time, let us look into these topics in detail. On the first place, we have the concept of rest and motion. I know that these are not any new topics to you. The words rest and motion are very commonly used words in our day-to-day life. We know that when you have to say that an object is at rest, you should observe the object for some time and see whether its position is changing or not. If the position of the object is not changing with respect to time, we say that the object is at rest. Or on the other hand, if the position of the object is changing with respect to time, we say that it is in motion. Now, when I define rest and motion, in addition to the word time with respect to time, I have used one more word. It is with respect to a referral point. We'll be discussing about what is the importance of referral point when we say rest and motion. So definition of rest is this: if an object is not changing its position with respect to a given referral point or with respect to a time, or you can say that an object is moving if there is a continuous change in its position with respect to a given referral point as the time passes. In order to understand what is the importance of the word referral point, let me show you a picture. In this, you can see two girls are there. One girl with a red colored dress is standing inside a moving bus. Let the bus move from right to left as is shown by the arrow mark. Now, if I'm asking you a question, that is, a girl in red is at rest or in motion, will you be able to give me a proper answer, or will your answer be proper if I do not correct my question? I think I have to be little more specific about my question, that whether the girl is moving with respect to, or when the second girl is observing the first girl. Like, in order to describe whether an object is at rest or motion, we have to specify from where you are observing the object. For example, if the second girl is observing the first girl by sitting at the same bus, the girl is not moving. Whereas if the second girl is observing the girl from the ground, the girl is in motion. So in order to specify whether the girl is in motion or rest, we have to specify the frame of reference or the reference point from where you are observing the girl. So the concept of rest and motion will be complete only if you specify the reference point. Reference point, or sometimes we call it as frame of reference, its definition is this: it is an arbitrary set of axes with reference to which the position or motion of something can be described. The simplest meaning of frame of reference is from where you are observing the object. With respect to your observation point, sometimes the same object can be called as at rest or at motion. We all have experienced that. From our common sense, we know that the trees can't move. But if you're observing a tree from a moving car, you might feel that the trees are moving in the backward direction. So there, the trees are appear to be moving if your reference point is a moving car. So reference point has a vital role while you define rest or motion. Now, I'm giving you a sentence that you're sitting in a chair and reading this statement, and I'm telling that you are moving. Will you agree to the statement or not? Your agreement will completely depend on how good you understood the topic of frame of reference. See, it is possible that even though you are sitting in a chair, it is possible that you are moving. Suppose you are being observed by an alien sitting in another planet. As we know that Earth is moving, so when somebody is sitting on the Earth, definitely that person also is in constant motion. So if an alien is watching you from above the Earth, you are definitely in motion. So there is no exclusive situation where an object is at rest or in motion. Definitely, the terms rest and motion are relative to each other. With respect to the referral point, you can have different meanings for rest and motion. The object which is at rest with one referral point, the same object can be called as at motion if the object is observed from a different referral point. In this example itself, you are sitting in a chair. When somebody from your home is watching you, for that person, you are not changing your position at all. So for that person, you are at rest. But if some alien is watching you from another planet, for that alien, your position is changing constantly because you are also moving along with the motion of Earth. So you are in motion. So that is the importance of frame of reference. So from now on, when you describe rest or motion, always make sure that you are describing these terms with respect to the frame of reference from where you are observing that point. Now, let us look into our next topic. It is physical quantities. See, in physics, mostly all the terms are classified as physical quantities. Before we go into the real meaning of rest and motion, or when we are going to describe about rest and motion, we need to describe some properties of objects. So physical quantities means these are the properties of object. As we know that in order to describe an object, there are many different properties by using which we can describe an object. For example, if I want to describe you as a person, I may have to tell how much is your height, how much is your weight, how much is your age, or even I have to say that whether you are short tempered or you are so happy going person. So many quantities or so many properties are there which will completely describe you, right? But out of these quantities or properties, some of them are measurable and we can express it with a specific number. But some others cannot be measured. You can't express it in terms of a number, but you can just give a comparison. For example, height of yours is a measurable quantity. I can very much say that your height is 165 centimeter, or I can very much say that your weight is 54 kg, which means these are the properties which can be measured and it can be expressed in terms of a number. So they are called physical quantities. On the other hand, how beautiful you are. I can say a comparison, okay, you are good looking, you are handsome, but I can't measure your beauty and express it in terms of a number. Even though that is a property which describes you, that cannot be measured and expressed in terms of number. So physical quantities means those are the properties which can be measured and expressed in terms of a number. Examples of physical quantities are mass, temperature, time, volume, area. All these can be measured, right? Now, we can classify physical quantities into two categories. One is called scalar quantities and another one is called vector quantities. Let us discuss what are scalars. Scalars means there are some quantities which can be completely described only by using a magnitude. For example, if I'm asking you how much is the outside temperature, you might say 26 degrees Celsius. That information is enough, that information is complete in order to describe the outside temperature, because temperature need not to be explained in terms of a direction. Whereas at the same time, if I'm asking about the wind outside, with the number, maybe you have to say that 15 kilometer per hour. With the number, the specification about the wind direction is also necessary. So some quantities need only magnitude. So these quantities are called as scalars. They need only magnitude for their description. Examples are mass, time, distance, speed. All these are coming under the category of scalars. Now coming to vector quantities, on the other hand, See, some informations will be incomplete if you don't specify the direction. I've taken an example of wind. Let me take another example to make it a little more clear, that if somebody want to come to your home and that person is standing in a bus station, okay, and if that person is calling you and asking you how much is the distance or displacement from the bus station to your home, if you say 2 kilometers or say 3 kilometers, that person will not be able to find your house, right? Because the information 3 kilometers is incomplete. You have to say 3 kilometers northeast or 2 kilometers towards south, then only that information will be complete and useful. So those kinds of physical quantities which need both magnitude and direction for their complete description are called vectors. Examples of vectors are velocity, force, weight, displacement, etc. So in short, scalars means it has just a size, no direction. But vector means it has a size as well as direction. Vectors can be represented by using an arrow. Arrow means, see, I told you force is a vector. Okay, I can represent a force by using an arrow. In this, the length of the arrow represent its magnitude and arrowhead points the direction. See, if I mark two forces, say F1 and F2, from the geometrical representation, that is from the arrow marks, you will have a clear understanding about which force is bigger, which force is smaller, which is acting from left to right, which is acting from right to left. As you can see, the length of F1 is bigger, which means force F1 is bigger force. F1 is acting from left to right, whereas F2 is acting from right to left. So all the vectors or any vectors can be represented by using an arrow. In that, length of the arrow represent magnitude, whereas the arrowhead represent direction. Let us classify some of the physical quantities into scalars and vectors in order to have a little more understanding about scalars and vectors. Temperature can be just described by using magnitude. So no direction means it is a scalar. Weight need both magnitude and direction, so it is a vector. Acceleration is another example of vector. Force is further vector. Time is a scalar. Distance is a scalar. Speed is another example of scalar. Velocity is vector. Displacement is vector. But mass is scalar, energy is scalar, and power is also scalar. So we came to know so many other examples of scalars and vectors from this slide. Let us look into the first pair of physical quantities which describes motion. I told you physical quantities are the properties which can be measured. So distance and displacement are measurable quantities and which will be describing motion of an object. In order to understand what is the difference between distance and displacement, let us look into this picture. Okay, in this, one boy has started moving from this point. Okay, and he is traveling all the way through this black marked lanes all around, and finally he reaches this point as the at the end. So he is telling that my distance was 176 meters, but his displacement is just 1 meter. So what makes the difference between distance and displacement measurement? Distance means it is the actual length of the path covered, how far an object moves in total. So total length of the path covered by the object is called distance. Whereas displacement just give you a direction from the initial point, how much the object has displaced. So we can say that displacement is the shortest distance between initial and final position. In order to understand the difference of distance and displacement better, I'm taking an example of a person walking in a square field. Okay. In the first case, he started walking from the point A, he reaches the point B. if the side length of the square field is 90 meter, how much is the distance traveled by him? The yellow dotted arrow mark I am showing to describe the actual path. So actual length of the path is how much? It's 90 meter. Whereas the bold arrow mark I'm showing to show the shortest distance. See, between A and B, the shortest distance can be straight line. So in this case, both the distance and displacement are 90 meters. But it is not the case every time. There is only one situation where distance and displacement will be equal. That is if the object is covering a distance in a straight line. If the object is moving only in one particular direction in straight line, in that case, distance and displacement will become equal. Now, if the same person is started moving from point A, he reaches the point B, and then further he walks and comes to the point C, and each side length is 90 meter, so his distance will be 90 plus 90, 180 meter. Whereas displacement means what? It is the shortest distance between initial and final position. So which means the length AC will give you displacement. When you use the formula and find out what is the length AC, you can see that it is 127 meter. So in this case, in the first case, distance and displacement was equal. In this case, distance is greater than displacement. Let us look into another scenario where he started moving from A, then went to B, reaches C, but he did not stop there. He went again and reaches the point D. So in this case, distance will be how much? Total length of the path covered, that is 90 plus 90 plus 90, it will be 270. Whereas displacement is going to be the shortest distance between A and D. It is going to be just 90 meters. So in this example also we came to know that distance is greater than displacement. They are not equal. Let us take another example where the person started walking from A, reaches B, went to C, then D. He did not stop there. He came back to A itself. So he has covered a long path and came back to the same position. So in that case, how much will be the distance? 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, which will be 360 meter. Whereas his displacement will be 0, because he started from A, he came back at A itself. So his initial and final position is the same. So in that case, displacement could be 0. So everywhere, displacement will be always less than or equal to distance. Displacement will never be able to greater than distance. After doing all these activities, I hope we will be in a position to distinguish between distance and displacement. Let us look into the points one by one. Distance, as we discussed, it is the actual length of the path covered by the object. Displacement is the shortest distance between initial and final position. Distance is a scalar quantity because we are measuring the entire length. So there is no point in describing its direction. It will not be having a unique direction. So it will be a scalar. Whereas displacement has a unique direction. That means it is a vector. Distance will be always positive, whereas displacement could be positive, negative, or 0. When will it be negative? See, in the example, see, it travels A to, suppose in the next case, it came to this position. In that case, we should measure displacement by using negative number. Okay, because his initial position was this. Finally, he came to the downward direction. So displacement could be positive, negative, or 0. Both are measurements of length itself, whether it is total length or the shortest distance, it is going to be measurement of length. That is why both are having the SI units as meter. Okay, so I hope today's session was very helpful to you. You understood all the concepts. If any doubt is there, please do write to me. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.